What it do, what it don't, what it will, what it won't. It is an amazing day. Not a Friday, but still an amazing day to get together and record the experience known as the Ball Hawk Sports Talk. So we're going to do our thing. The crew is in the building. You know how we do it. It's sports, it's business, it is entertainment. We do it one way and one way only, and that's rough, rugged, and raw. Fasten your seatbelt. And it is an early Sunday morning, but do what you need to do to wake up because we're going to come the exact same way, riveting sports and business content. It is the Ball Sports Talk where sports, business, and entertainment collide. A few businessmen get together to discuss sports in an entertaining, very entertaining fashion. So no further ado, let's go.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hawk Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw, so come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go.
You know what it is, man? We're in the building this Sunday, man, and we've taken the liberty as the Ball Hawk Sports Talk to decide when we record. So it ain't just gonna be on Fridays. It ain't gonna just be in the morning. It's gonna be when we want it. But the show is not a show unless you got the talent. So today on the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, we have none other than the man, the myth, the legend, thou shall be intergalactically known and respected as. When you say it with some reverence and some bass in your voice, he shall be known as the Big Flow Show's in the building. What's up, my brother?
What's good, man? I miss y'all, America. I miss everybody, man. It's been a while. You know, sometimes life happens, right? Fridays get to be whatever. You know, I've got 2 children that are playing college sports. I've done some travel, you know, work gets in the way and different things like that. And how dare the rest of my life get in the way of my podcasting? So got to make time for Sunday. God, I appreciate you giving us some time, carving out some minutes out your day. But, you know, today we got to come in here and give you guys some Sunday.
We're going to come strong, man. It is the first Sunday of NFL season. This is the Super Sunday, the first Sunday of the season.
So I know y'all up barbecuing. Just go and put us in the background.
Put us in the background. And make sure that you, as we ask you every week, humbly like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, and please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and the podcast. Appreciate you, Sports PSP. Y'all make sure y'all check out his podcast, too. Okay. He's our first person in the live audience to comment. We want all of you guys to comment because we got some riveting stuff. Today's episode is going by the title of Wake Up. And it is obviously because we are early on a Sunday morning. This is the day that normally people sleep in, or they are trying to wake up and head to Sunday service. And we're going to give you some of the sports, business, entertainment on the way there. But we want you to wake up for other reasons. We want you to understand a few things before we get out of today. We're not going to be here long. Can I get an amen since we on Sunday?
Amen.
Amen, my brother. We're not going to be here very long, but it's important that we provide some context to a few things before we get out of here. The first thing I want to do is let everybody know why we chose this particular title, Wake Up, because, you know, anytime we do a title, it's a meaning behind it. And so we have decided today to call it Wake Up for a meaningful reason. And whoever is in the culture understands that this picture represents a particular scene in a particular movie directed by a particular director, Spike Lee. And it is a school days reference, Wake Up. And in this particular scene, it's a powerful call to action from the character Dap Dunlap. And he's just urging his fellow students at this historically Black college to overcome the complacency, the internal divisions like classism and colorism, to overcome the apathy pressing down on the social and political issues there on campus affecting the Black community and to foster greater unity and awareness. And that's what we're going to do today in Sports Business Entertainment. This is a call to action. Wake up. Now, we'll start by acknowledging, because I know you're going to like this, acknowledging that the great LeBron James has shocked us again, man. And I still don't call him a GOAT. He's not my GOAT. He's yours. But the fact that he's inducted to the Hall of Fame because of his Olympic run while still playing, it just looked odd to see this man put on a jacket knowing that he's also about to put on some basketball shoes.
He's done Olympics, though. He's not playing anymore. Well, we don't even know that.
We don't know that, man. So your man got Hall of
Fame. I
didn't
know there was an Olympics Hall of Fame. Or is there a Basketball Hall of Fame Olympics edition?
There's a Basketball Hall of Fame that this Olympics team was inducted into because of his participation on that Olympics team, which was a great Olympics team. He is now in the Hall of Fame. So how dare I not give you the opportunity at the beginning of the show? I'm going to give you your flowers. That's your man. He's a Hall of Famer while still having some active legs and playing. Go ahead and take a bow.
Why do we have to wait for someone to be dead to give them their flowers?
You're right. All right. So
why can't he wear the jacket to the game?
You got your 120 seconds, a whole 2 minutes. Go ahead
Hey, I want to claim back my time. Congressman from the East Orange District. I'd like to reclaim my time. But yeah, I don't understand why that's a big deal. I mean, why can't he be in the Hall of Fame? He's going to be there anyway. But it
requires you to have
Hall of Fame prior to being in the Hall of Fame, huh?
Normally, by the rules, by design, it requires you to be in retirement. But
you can't put. There's a lot of people that on that team that still play basketball, right? Or not?
No, hell no. It's just him. Just him on that team. Just him.
All right, so then we can hold everybody else up for him because we got to. You know what I'm saying?
He's just the king. I start here lighthearted because I wanted to pay him respect, man.
So let me just say this. Let me say this. It's a difference between being in the Hall of Fame as a team member than it is as an individual. I mean, this is not his. Did he give his speech and all that kind of stuff like that? Or
no,
was it just
but when the camera panned over to him in the middle of Dwight Howard's speech, I mean, you can see reaction. He's got that je ne sais quoi, right? And so people start reacting to him. So but he was there at the Hall of Fame ceremony, getting a jacket for his part that he played on that Olympic team. So shout out to LeBron, man, before we hop in anything.
I mean, at the end of the day, man, we all know what it is. He's the GOAT. Get up off me, man. LeBron, hey.
So you tell me I need to wake up and accept the fact he's the GOAT.
Michael Jordan wasn't in the Hall of Fame for the Dream Team before he was in there. But now we're going to say it's different. Now we're going to talk about hand checking. Now we're going to talk, man, come on.
Hey, man, respect to him, though, man. It was good to see. It was good to see Dwight Howard get his flowers. It was good to see Carmelo Anthony and his son, Cayenne Anthony, present the jacket to him. That was a really feel-good ceremony. So Hall of Fame, salute to you. Happened to be a very good class, too. So shout out to them. Now, wanted to hop into, we got to at least talk about the NFL. Because this wake up thing is the call to action, a realization, a coming to an awareness that it is time to open our eyes to some things. And this NFL season, Sunday-wise, starts today. And what I have sort of figured out, because you cannot avoid seeing the injury report, the different storylines related to the NFL teams. And you come to realize that it's because of the money. And here at the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, where sports business and entertainment collide, I have to reflect back on those days when I still was a fantasy football participant. I remember you had to wake up early on Sunday morning before that deadline, before your roster was locked. You had to look at the different media sites that presented the injuries. And I would go and click on some of the sites I trusted for the most in-depth storylines. I knew that if the roster closed at 12:55 or 12:50 Eastern time, I had to have at least an hour window. And then I this week, those same sites that used to be exclusively used for fantasy football, them sites are booming now, bro.
Man.
And I had to come to the conclusion that fantasy was the NFL's way to just put a pinky toe in the whole gambling space.
It's funny because fantasy football, the NFL poo-pooed fantasy football for the longest time before they learned to embrace it.
Gambling was still illegal, and I think they knew where it was going to go.
Yeah, but like, why? Fantasy football was the best thing that's ever happened to fandom in NFL history besides cable television.
Why you
right?
say, oh, because of the viewership?
When you were, remember when we did the fantasy when we were in that league way long time ago, way back when Emmett used to cheat all the time and we get people to trade him half. We'll forget it. I digress. But I knew who every tight end was in the NFL. I knew who every kicker was in the NFL. And I cared and I watched and I looked. NFL Red Zone package would not sell if it wasn't for the fact that fantasy. Like that's all these things. It did so much. It made people who get involved, women that weren't really that into sports, but just wanted, having the fun, trying to get into fantasy. Who cares? When you grow up, you had a handful of favorite players, and then the team, your local team that you really paid attention to. And now that I'm a little older, I'm kind of back to that. Right? I don't know who half these people are. I start to feel like, can I call myself a football fan when I don't know who anything is? But I'm not into fantasy. Fantasy made me know more about football than any time period in my life. So why the NFL didn't embrace that and say that's going to make, if it's just me, it's millions of people.
I think the NFL knew what was going to happen. And now we are officially off the cliff and gambling has been legalized. Sports betting has been legalized. But I think that's what the NFL is afraid of. And now I have to wake up to the reality that I kind of missed the boat, right? I didn't see this coming. And sports betting now is, you can't turn on the TV with them not, giving you the odds. There are prop bets. You can bet on anything when it comes to the NFL. And they are trying to create this firewall between legalized sports betting and its impact on the integrity of the game, to be determined if they can ever do that completely. We have seen several players that are unfortunately forcing scrutiny, and in some cases facing either suspension from a league, and in some cases, the most extreme, even potentially facing some criminal charges.
Yeah.
And so that was the firewall that they wanted. We'll see if it ever really exists. But I finally had to hit my alarm clock and turn the snooze button off and wake up and realize that I missed the boat. I didn't realize that the fantasy football space and the information that was provided regarding players' injuries and their status would lead to this huge business of legalized sports betting. But at last, we are here. So wake up to it. I'll give you the final word on before we get into some other things. We got to talk about Catholics versus convicts. But we've arrived, bro. It's like you're watching the game because you're also watching your slips.
Yeah.
Everyone is watching the game. Not everyone, but there's a lion's share of people that are watching the game solely because they have placed bets. And I never thought we would get here.
At the end of the day, when you look at things, everyone wants to look at the problems, right? Welfare, we want to look at the people who are, buying crab legs and malt liquor and meth with food stamps, and we say, oh, let's just throw the whole everything out.
Right.
Gambling, there are people we know that have gambling problems. I got buddies right now they put little parlays in. I'm a parlay guy because I realize that if I bet $100 and I win $100, I'm not super happy. But if I bet $100 and lose it, I'm mad. But if I bet $20 and win 300, the happiness upsetness ratio is perfect. Not that mad I lost the 30, but I'm super excited with the 300. So I'm a parlay guy, right? I like to
parlay guy.
It just makes the most sense for me.
Parlays, I imagine you understand the odds are so against you that you don't go through the pain of trying to find injuries and all that. Parlay, you just bet the parlay, right?
The parlay, you create the parlay. So
you create it based on different options and how many.
So what happens is every parlay bet that you do is a normal bet. The funny part about the parlay is you'll do like Shufu Jordan used to give me fight parlays, and he would 9 fights in, and he would have 8 of them right, 1 wrong, we lose the whole thing. Actually, sometimes it would be so hard for me to get all 9 and put them in there. They're regular bets, so it could be like Bobby Brown to beat. Let's see something realistic. I was going to say Reggie Ford, but that's so unrealistic. Nobody would understand the example. Bobby Brown to beat Thatcher in a fight.
That's probably unrealistic too now.
Yeah, so we take a fight. Boom. All right. So I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to take another fight, Thatcher to beat, the kid down the street.
Right.
So those are two individual bets that I could bet by themselves. But I'm going to say I need to get both right.
A part of your
the funny part is, because it's Murphy's Law, if you went out and bet 10 bets individually, which would probably be the smartest way to do that if you really think you're right, you would win 9 of them and you would lose 1 and you'd be up. But we say let's parlay those and put less money.
Is there a multiplier for the parlay for taking the risk?
So if I bet for you to beat Thatcher, there's going to be an odd in there. Let's just you pay juice, so you bet 100 to win 90 because there's some Vegas has to make their money, right? Mm-hmm. If it's 1-to-1, if you bet 3 fights together, that $100 will probably win you $400 because the odds of you getting one wrong. Yeah, so it's exponentially hard. So when it comes to like the fight game, if you can bet like 6 or 7, you're betting $50 and you can win like $1,300. Like it's amazing how much you can win. But the good thing about it is when you lose and you're close, you're captivated, you're excited, whatever. But again, I go through spurts, bet a little bit, then I don't bet for 6 months or whatever. There's people who have problems and there's not. So I say,
you have problems. You just don't have that problem. I just want to clear that up.
I have problems, yeah, but I don't have a sports betting problem. It's whatever, recreational stuff. It's fun. I get a text message from some group of guys who thinks that they know all these bets and they send them out there, and it could just be fun for some people. Some people have a problem. So long story short, I think the NFL should embrace the betting and embrace fantasy because all it does is drive interest.
Yeah, and I mean, look, outside of live betting, TV in itself in its purest form has always almost been sidelined completely. And I imagine the sports betting drives a lot of that viewership because if I've got the parlay, I want to watch it. I'm cheering for whatever leg of that parlay. Your analogy was boxing, but whatever leg of the parlay, I'm gonna be cheering for it. So I had to wake up to it though, bro. I didn't realize that. So I have officially smacked myself in the face and put water on my face because indeed, man,
put some water on your face.
Betting is here to stay. I will say that I am happy that we took August off. We got a chance to refresh, a chance to regain perspective. We reformatted some things in our show, which is why we won't always be on Fridays. We recommitted to the quality of the show. And then we also got a chance to do other things. And one of the things that I got a chance to do was go to this Catholics versus Convicts. Notre Dame had to travel down to Miami to play University of Miami, the U. And although Notre Dame came up short on the field, great game. They made it a good game. But to be honest, being there felt like Miami dominated the game. It should have been more than a 3-point victory for Miami, but it is what it is.
Damn,
that's not what I want to deal with, though.
You feel good about that you just gave up.
You say that one more time.
You really felt like you had to say that? That sounds like hater. Like I would wonder what color your diploma is.
No, but I'm just being realistic from a pure standpoint, right? I'm happy that Notre Dame cut it to 3. Notre Dame has a chance now at the end of the year. If all ends as is, a 3-point loss on the road in your quarterback's first ever start has a lot of qualifiers that mean that it is almost a tie, or almost a draw, right? Because Notre Dame didn't even drop out of the top 10. So I think the powers that be saw it that way too. But truth be told, in the game, I felt like Miami dominated us, right? We didn't look very good. Having said that, I didn't want to deal with the X's and O's. I want to deal with the dollars and the cents. That game, right? Not only did ESPN, from a production standpoint, understanding that ABC, its affiliate, would have the game, they showed the documentary Catholics versus Convicts on the day before the game. And I'm turning between the U.S. Open and this documentary, and I'm falling in love with the documentary. After the game, USA played Rudy. And so I'm looking at this. And here is, let me look into the right camera. Here is the essence of this show. The money that has been poured into this thing called sport on a high level. And for this show where sports, business, and entertainment collide, it was a very entertaining game. I subscribe to the entertainment around the game, the 30 for 30. And then after the game, watching Rudy again. The reality is they have built this billion-dollar industry. Today's show is Wake Up, because that realization, parents, is something that you need to come to earlier. I'm going to end the show talking about my perspective on youth sports and a recent event that happened to me. But being at that game, seeing how it not only had the 30 for 30, but that game averaged 10.8 million viewers on ABC. Huge success. It's the second most watched game of week one, only behind a primetime 12 p.m. game on Saturday of Texas and Ohio State, which featured Arch Manning. It's the second best Sunday opener on ABC record, only behind the 2016 Notre Dame game versus Texas, which peaked at 11.8. Why am I saying that? Yes, Notre Dame lost on the field. But on my way out to my best friend, my dog, my brother, still a fan, and to other people, I said, you should thank us, because not only was the viewership numbers crazy, University of Miami broke their own attendance record at home with Notre Dame being there. The dollars and the cents of it is what we are trying to get out of this show today. Wake up. That's why Notre Dame can remain independent. That's why Notre Dame has an edge when the playoff committee starts trying to figure out who can go where. Or in the old system, when the bowl committee is trying to decide which team to invite. It is about the dollars and the cents.
Of church.
And so while I loved watching the stars come out, Michael Irvin might have got too much doggone airtime. I love you, Mike. STA all the way, but damn, he got a lot of airtime. But you saw all the stars on both sides come out. You saw all the players from the 80s and the 90s when Catholics versus Convicts was hot, when college football was so pure that they didn't even think about paying, when amateurism was still a thing. And I'm looking at these players on the sideline. I'm looking at the ABC telecast, making sure they feature these guys. I'm looking at the events around all the players that are coming down to South Florida for this game. And all I can think is, damn, we got robbed. And they still taking advantage of the fact that those players, with their sacrifice and the coaches and the support staff and all of those programs that made the sacrifice necessary to create this billion-dollar industry so that these young men can get paid at NIL. Damn, we missed out on some money. So as a parent now, as student athletes, as someone who has decided to turn off the snooze button and wake my ass up, make sure you take full advantage. Make sure you take full advantage. The whole concept behind Catholic versus Convicts. For those who have seen the 30 and 30, and I ain't gonna be a spoiler, so I won't talk too much about it, but the truth be told is, like, it was set up more than that. My best friend was like, it wasn't just Catholic versus Convicts, it was white versus black. It was this community versus that community. And to be honest, it was. Because
that's why I don't like it.
America knows that there is commerce. There's commerce, and there is a business opportunity in white versus black. The suburbs versus the inner city. Good versus bad. And so when I'm looking at it and I see that they're still eating off of it, I challenge these parents, myself included, to make sure that we don't fall prey to the same shit and not take advantage of the opportunities that our entertainment has created from a business sense. That's deeper than I wanted to get in Catholic versus Convicts, but I'll throw it to you before we move on, man. I couldn't look at it from a just football enjoyment standpoint. All I could see was the dollars and the cents of it.
my recap on the game in general, not completely touching your topic, but giving my own perspective is, um, I thought watching that game, I think I started off thinking that our quarterback was trash. I left thinking he's got promise. You know what I mean? I felt like
That kid look good, man. On the road against Miami, it
yeah,
was crazy in
started off
there.
bad. It
Hey,
started off
wow.
bad though, but by the end of the game, he said, "I mean, let's give this dude a chance." His
Yeah,
first real playing time, like on the the only game in a bowl game scenario. Let's
only
call it
game on that night.
the only game on that night.
Yep.
Just fresh off the national championship, and everyone wants to know what are you going to do. I feel better at the end. I mean, if you look at it, ironically, is the first half. I was watching that game thinking, man, this quarterback from Georgia is that guy. He might be a Heisman type, whatever. And they finished off with the same game, minus one pick. And that pick was just a stupid decision,
I didn't like the call. Yep. That was
He was
second. That was
covered.
second and 2, and we were driving, and we throw a screen.
The
You don't
worst
take
thing
a
that ever
shot
happened
against
to the
us.
passing game is the word 50-50 ball. When we was growing up, you used to have to be open to throw the ball. Now the expectation is you can be covered, and we think you still have a really legitimate chance to catch it. So we're throwing the ball to people who have somebody draped all over them
Right.
and saying catch it. 50-50 ball. That may be a little perspective of a receiver's dad that kind of drive me crazy. But anyway, that pick shouldn't have happened. And then it was flukes along in the play. There was some flukes. But besides that, he had the exact same game as Carson Beck.
Yeah.
Now, if they would have lost that game, to your point, I think, or it was closer than it seemed. It wasn't closer than it seemed, but if they lost that game, the Miami coach would have been lambasted in the media because
Hot seat.
he took his foot off the gas. He was scared. Beck was doing so well at throwing the ball. He took the ball out of his hands. He stopped doing stuff. And I was like, man, these dudes are playing not to lose. And they almost got beat because of it. But
Notre Dame also deserves credit. So don't think that I've turned orange and green. Notre Dame deserves credit. Their entire team showed some stick-to-itiveness on the road under those circumstances. They could have easily had a very pedestrian fourth quarter, down 2 scores, and they didn't. So they deserve credit. But great game.
But there's a formula. Last thing, there's a formula that I see now is if we survive the Northern Illinois loss at home, we can survive the Miami loss on the road.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We're fine. We're fine. We had an early test, strength of schedule on the road, ran out of time. We got all kind of stories to tell by the time it's over. But your ass better start winning, Notre Dame. But I think we still can't. We still something about that love. That I almost felt Love should have transferred.
Jeremiah Love.
We're wasting his time. And then another thing bothers me too. And then I'm gonna get off this game is okay. The Love shit wasn't working, and they weren't doing nothing with him. And he was trying. He's gonna get himself killed. He keeps trying to jump over everybody. But that other running back came in and gave us a spark, and then we iced him.
Yeah,
it was killing. We should have kept with him.
Yeah.
Feed the hot head. That's how I say. Feed the hot head.
The penultimate play before the pick that ultimately sealed the game was a run, 8-yard run, 2nd and 2, and we throw a screen that gets tipped, and rest is history. But I'll say this, man, because looking at that game and seeing the viewership and seeing the success that ABC, ESPN had by featuring Notre Dame, both in 2016 and now in 2025 in that opening game. Bro, the number, like the dollars that are pouring into this thing, like we got to start reverse engineering how we approach sport. Yeah. The same way the investment banker starts teaching his kids about global economics at the dinner table at 6 years old, we're pouring all of this money into investing in our kids. Trainers, travel teams, AAU trips. They even got like recovery mechanisms for young kids. We're doing all of that and not teaching to sort of use the analogy. We're not teaching this young, promising investment banker about global economics. And that's my challenge. I said that the Notre Dame-Miami game was second for week 1. The game that was the number 1 game viewership was Ohio State, Texas on Fox. 12 p.m. game on Saturday. The big noon game. The viewership for that game was 16.6 million viewers tuned in and watched 18-year-old kids play. If we don't do better, and I say we, all parents of all communities.
Which game was that?
That was the Ohio State and Texas game.
Mm-hmm.
16.6 million viewers, bro. At noon on a Saturday. This thing is going to be something that we talk about here and there, and then we'll show examples. Like, for example, the reason I know we're not teaching our kids is because I'm watching, which is crazy to me, man. I'm watching, literally crazy to me, a game yesterday because I wanted to see what Arch Manning would do, right? I wanted to see how he bounced back. Everyone wants to crucify this man because he didn't have a good first game. He was like, what's the dude named Bino Cook that says he's going to win 4 Heismans? Arch Manning was the equivalent of that. People have basically already signed him up for 4 Heismans.
First pick
so much hype coming in his first year as a starter. And so I wanted to see it. And I'm watching the game, and I can't help but have a lesson presented to me. One that says, wake up. Wake the hell up. The telecast at this point is talking about the NIL house settlement. And when they're talking about it, they say, I'll just share it. They say this. Let me get to it. Sorry about it. Let me make sure I got the volume on and all that good stuff. They say this.
The House versus NCAA settlement. There's an example of it. Hello, Trey Wisner.
26 pounds of iced out Cuban links on Trey Wisner's neck right now. By the way, that was a nice throw in rhythm to Ryan Wingo on that last throw. The first time that Arch Manning's really kind of looked comfortable early in this game.
26 pounds.
It was scratching his neck. That's the worst part. It was uncomfortable.
And while these two professionals, I was going to say white men, I don't know that they both are white. I know Trey is, but these two professionals are talking about the NIL house settlement. On full display, they're using a young black man with 26 pounds. I got my own jewelry, but because somebody taught me a long time ago that life is more than just the silly things that are important now, luckily this is as fake as it comes. But I couldn't help but feel awkward that they're talking about the NIL house settlement. They're showing this young black man with 26 pounds of foolishness.
This is called foolishness, yeah.
On his neck. And I just start shaking my head because at some point, people, if we want to have the freedom and the autonomy we talk about, if we want to have the ownership that we dream about, if we want to make sure that we take full advantage of the opportunities there and are doing things that create generational wealth, at some point we gotta call it out.
We do, but here's the problem I have with what we just saw. They went on the sideline, they found the guy that was injured, so obviously it seems like a waste of money. They find the only guy on the sideline that's out there with jewelry, and they say 26 pounds of Cuban link. We're talking about the settlement. And it goes back to how society wants us to think that this is all this horrible thing that should stop, and they want you to be anti-athlete and anti-player. And I say to him, not to hide from it, but shame on him. I read another story this morning about a 22-year-old player. Damn, I wish I had his name.
The kid from UNC with the Ben & Jerry's?
No, this is the dude that his mom died of breast cancer. He just adopted 4. He had to adopt his 4 siblings. And he's a football player. I didn't
read that story yet.
I read that story, and I wish I had it. But my point is, let's focus on that. So whatever NIL money he's getting, he has the ability now to try to raise his siblings while he's playing college football.
Reg, why would they do that? Not to make it them and us or some conspiracy theory, but you know who they're gonna highlight. They're not gonna highlight that story.
And that's the thing that it's frustrating with the media, and it goes back and forth to some of the stuff we talked about earlier. Like, All these people are at home saying, why are they giving these kids all this money? Look at that guy, 26. There's not – go to every sideline game in America right now in the Power 5 and find me like 3 more guys that have 26 pounds of cumulative. You have one idiot that has that kind of bread who's not playing.
Who do the
whatever.
kids want to emulate, though, Flo? Come on, man. That's why I'm saying
I
it.
know,
That's why
but
on
the
this
reason why,
platform
we're doing that is we don't need to cover it up, man. I'm all for the full disclosure. Talk about it. Go ahead and talk about this kid. But somebody on that telecast, somebody in that studio, someone else should say, let's do more of an expose on this kid that all of a sudden now, instead of having to drop out of school and college and drop out and stop playing football, stop chasing his dreams because he had a life event where his mom died, he has to step up. Let's talk about the beauty of the fact that he can have both. He can have his education, he can chase his dreams and have some semblance of money to pay for these kids. Let's let that story be out. I can't remember the kid's name, whatever, because it was something, when you're up at 4 a.m, you click to death, you finally find it. But it wasn't a story that they, when they're talking live TV, that they want to go do that. So, yeah, that kid had a bunch of ice, and I'm going to say this. Maybe that shit was fake. Maybe it was fake, too.
I hope
Maybe
it was fake. I hope it was fake.
There was a lot of ice. And his side, he doesn't know his neck bigger than that.
But for that
imagery
of a young black man with 26 pounds of Cuban link, with that commentary talking about the NIL house settlement, I just can't help but to imagine some 16-year-old kid, 11-year-old kid watching that, thinking that they want to emulate that ridiculousness. You look at the parking lots now at some of these major universities. Kids don't even drive Hondas no more. You remember, we just used to be happy to have a car, even if it wasn't yours, something you were borrowing, 4 wheels on campus. Now that's not enough. The team parking lot looks like a car lot at some of these schools. And so I'm just calling it out here because how we started the show, and we'll get to the very meat and potatoes of it at the very end, but in the middle of this show, we got to wake up. And it's up to responsible media outlets like the Ball Hog Sports Talk and other responsible media outlets to say, my brother, while 26 pounds of Cuban link seems like a smart decision right now at 19 years old, let me just tell you, at 48 years old, even if it's going to buy a duplex and putting the cash down on something or just putting the money away in some annuity, that we at least say, I don't know what 26 pounds of Cuban link costs, thankfully, but we'll say a lot of money, investable dollars. I know you don't know right now what 20 years from now holds, but if you just invested that money and let compound interest take form with the money that you invested, that 26 pounds of Cuban links that looks ridiculous on TV while these men, maybe unbeknownst to them, make a mockery of our entire community and put this image in front of other young kids that will try to emulate that dumb behavior.
It's perpetuation. Nobody. Let me say this: nobody saw him on the sideline until they focused in on him. Facts,
Fair.
right? No one knew anything about him. The media, commentators, all these people decided that they wanted to paint that image. I'm never going to put anyone's information confidential out there, but I've got a friend whose son has got a very substantial contract in a situation that's not even the best.
NIL contract?
NIL contract.
Okay.
And he just built a brand new construction home across the street or not too far from the stadium that is going to far outweigh his time at this university that he's already got set up to be a rental property that's built on the house. So he has assets. I've got another person who I won't disclose his name, whose parents have told him, 50% of his of his NIL is going to go towards savings. However much is going to go towards it. He has to live off 10% of what's coming in. They've given him a budget, and he's with a financial advisor. And these are things that if you did a little dig, a little question asking, you can do some pregame interviews. You can start saying, how are you structuring NIL, and find those stories and talk about those stories. And now that becomes the narrative. And that becomes.
We're going to do it here then. From the Ball Hog Sports Talk, maybe that's our commitment, because I can complain till the cows come home, but we need to start capturing those narratives and highlighting them, because right now we're fighting against an ESPN, or I don't even know what network that was. We're fighting against a network that's showing that to kids that think because of not only the image.
They're not showing it for the kids. Well, they don't give a shit about those kids that we're talking about. That's what me and you are complaining about. They're showing that for the for the naysayers. They're showing that for the people that say, yeah, we should put a stop to this. These kids are getting too much money. They're doing whatever. I don't know why they feel like that benefits them as an organization, because I honestly believe if you start telling the stories like I told you about people who are buying homes on campus, people who are being forced to work with financial advisors and saving. My son barely got any NIL money at all, but he's got a Roth IRA and a financial advisor he's sitting down with. I didn't talk to a financial advisor until my friend had Fox. Tell facts. He put it on Fox, so that we just told it to the story right there. Jordan said
that answer itself tells the story.
Yeah, the answer itself, whatever. But I didn't talk to a financial advisor till my first friend got a Prudential job where they make you talk to your friends and convince us to buy life insurance that I only kept for a couple weeks. You know what I mean? But my point is, I never did that kind of stuff in college. And my son, who's had very little NIL money, very little success, already has some savings. He already has a little bit of money going. And his story from the NIL is definitely not a success. But they don't want to talk about any of that stuff. And they're choosing the narrative to say, let's go on the sideline, find a guy who's not playing, try to follow him around, didn't even mention his name. We don't know who he is. We don't know what his deal was. And say that he has 26 pounds, which now, for all the haters, believe that they've weighed it and then they've discussed it and that it's not fake or whatever. That's the narrative. And we can do that. We can find that in every aspect of the world. I can go to Congress and find you the thieves. I can go to clergy and find you the molesters. I can go to anything and find the worst of the worst and just paint that as the only narrative and throw away all the good. So I take offense to it, honestly, because this NIL in the long run is going to have some bad stuff and some bad repercussions that we have to iron out. But in the long run, there's in the short run, I should say, in the long run, there are so many people now who are being able to cash in. I've got a friend whose son is a quarterback of Iowa, and I won't talk about that specifically, right? He could have come out in the draft last year, probably went late in the draft, fought to make a team and did whatever. Who knows how long his career could be? Maybe he'd be a long guy, maybe whatever, but it's a gamble. But he was able to stay in school, go to Iowa, get a decent amount of money, where now if it doesn't work out in the NFL, he's cashed in and he's made something. It wasn't for naught. He's got an engineering degree, and now he's going to get a master's, but it wasn't for naught. Let's discuss that. Let's talk about that. Let's make that the narrative. Let's make that the situation that everyone turns to and points to. That's gonna turn a negative into a positive.
And at the same time, and at the same time, it wasn't Fox. Thank you, Show. Truthful Jordan in the building. We mentioned you earlier.
ESPN Plus gets the bootleg announcers. That's what it is. We get the bootleg announcers. That's the dude who got fired from Fox that was doing that.
ESPN Plus. But I'll say this: in addition to what you're saying, the most responsible media outlets need to tell the story responsibly. But in addition, we also got to put pressure on these young men to understand that although you don't know your 48-year-old self, let me just on your 48-year-old self behalf say, wake up. You are doing the damage
you're
for
doing the
them.
Devil's work. Yep, you're doing the devil's
work. That's why they are highlighting it. You're taking money that could change communities. You're taking money that could create generational wealth. You're taking money that really could be invested in something that literally gives you autonomy for the rest of your working life. You're taking that and throwing it away. And they want to highlight that because they will gladly watch you go out on the stage and be an asshole.
Absolutely.
Because that is the narrative they want to keep.
Right. I mean,
and
again,
so if you look at
to belabor that point, how many people were on that sideline and how many people had necklaces like that? There was one dude. They go in the front, they show all those exotic cars. They don't say the fact that none of these kids paid money for those cars. Those are throw-ins for part of their deal, is to give you a leased car, let you drive around and feel like a big shot. But that's not really affecting your money. So that's the part of it. I think that if you want kids to do better, you can show them better. So all these dudes at home are watching, seeing the guy with the chains, and that's what I want to go do. He must be the man, and he ain't even playing. If you perpetuate the stories of the people building homes or saving 50% and what that could do for you for the rest of your life, and they start doing stories on that, that is what the young people will start thinking to do because that's the come up. Make that the come up.
Yep. And that's what we're going to try to do here. My man, Wes, what's up, Wes? Talking about spreading the money across all sports. I'm almost certain his son is a baseball player at the University of Notre Dame. But regardless of the sport, regardless of the check that you're getting from whether it be the university by way of an NIL house settlement or NCAA house settlement, or whether it be a check from a third party by way of some NIL contract. Just understand that the years of plight, the challenges that our respective communities have had financially, the lack of representation when it comes to ownership, when it comes to the businesses that are well established, that can hire other young brothers. Put that money to the side, put it to use, get a team around you to protect it, and execute on a plan. Just like you do in a football game, basketball game, execute on a plan. Buying chains is basically, right, failing to plan. And so we know what happens when you fail to plan. You basically plan to fail. And all of these NBA, NFL stories that we read about, the 30 for 30 broke, that was based on all these NFL, NBA players that fell prey to the same windfall of money without any real team around them to help them construct a plan. That should be a model example of what you shouldn't do, to stay away from. And yet it's becoming just another tale of widespread financial misuse. And so I hated it, man. I'm watching and I just hated it. Someone sent it to me. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, literally felt like somebody punched me in my gut. Let's move on, man, because I wanted to get Cowboys versus Eagles. Did you watch the Thursday night game?
I did. I watched some of it.
NFL opener, Cowboys versus Eagles. Great game. It was an hour delay because of weather. We will get
that's
to
what
see.
happened. I missed some of that.
Say that again.
You reminded me why I missed some of it. The delay.
Yeah. We will get the numbers on it, and
I have CD Lamb on my fantasy.
CD Lamb.
He still had a decent boys game, but he left me about 15 points on the field.
If you caught that last one, you probably
dropped 3.
Yeah, that last one was bad though.
All of them were bad.
Yeah. CD Lamb is
and they were all big ones too, big chunk plays.
He's going to give you that. He's going to give you some really. Do you think I will give the Cowboys credit? America's Nightmare, America's Team, whatever they call themselves, looked pretty good, man. Dak Prescott looked pretty good.
Dak always looks pretty good. That's the problem. They are good, and then they suck until they're good until they're not, and that's the problem with Dak Prescott.
Shout out to the Eagles, man. The Eagles look like they're going to be another contender again this year, so to defend their title, and we shall see. I want to get to this quickly, man, because Michael Irvin in this space, right? We're talking about, what to do with this money. On this episode called Wake Up, Michael Irvin has been on a podcast tear, but in one of those podcasts, he talks about how he took his first $1 million check, put it on the nightstand, and it turned into an aphrodisiac for ladies because they came out, they closed. His financial team called him like, Mike, what you doing? We got to put it in the bank. We're losing. And his response was, no, we're winning. While it was funny, it was very funny, and it looked like it was very true. I just hope that we can use these stories to guide these young athletes, man, because they're getting the money a lot earlier now. They're getting the money at 16, 17 now, Flo. If you have the right guidance, and y'all holler at me, I'm doing the work right now, and business gonna be booming very, very soon. But if you have the right guidance, there's no way that you should listen to that story and think anything other than, you dummy. Wake up. Yeah, you should have done X, Y, Z. While it was a funny story, it was also a sad story. That's what we are using the money for.
Funny. It's easy to laugh now because Michael Irvin's all right. He's straight.
He's straight. He found a career after the career, which most people don't. It's only so many seats in that doggone telecast booth. Ain't going to be for so many broadcasters.
There's not a lot about him you need to pay attention to. Yeah. All the drug, cocaine, women, all that kind of stuff. And he made it.
Hey, ain't gonna be no blasphemy with Mike on here now, man. That's not.
I'm just saying. He's not the role model you should look at.
From the illustrious St. Thomas Aquinas of the greater Fort Lauderdale, Florida area, throw your L's up. But with that one, I ain't with you, Mike. I hope he's gonna use his platform to help other young players.
We failed to mention something. If I'm not mistaken, did St. Thomas Aquinas just take a look?
Yeah, lost by 3. Same as Notre Dame. Same weekend.
I love the parallel. I love
Lost
it.
by 3 to
So
modern
you're
day.
telling me, Reg, if you're not going to talk bad about Notre Dame, stay the hell out of South Florida. I saw what you did there, and I appreciate it so much. I'm going to give you what you want.
Lost to the
I'm
number
going
one
to
team in
give
the
you
country.
exactly what you want.
Good team. Chris Henry Jr. though is a beast going to Ohio State. The rich
They end up
keep
beating
getting rich.
Ohio.
How does Ohio State get that kid? They rich keep.
How
getting
do they
rich.
not? They have the best receivers ever. Always.
Amazing, man. I'm hating now.
Amazing.
I'm really hating. Wake up, all the
Did they
receivers
win
out there.
last
Go
night
to
against
Notre
Hawaii
Dame,
too?
and you won't have to share time with all kids like Jeremiah Smith, who had an 87-yarder yesterday, something crazy like that. The other thing I wanted to get to in this episode of Wake Up, Shador Sanders and the prime equity clause. Now, this has not been confirmed, right? But there's this notion that's been reported that Shador Sanders somehow was able to negotiate what is called a prime equity clause in his NFL contract, which essentially is giving him equity in all of the paraphernalia, his jerseys and all that. Now, it has not been corroborated because, truth be told, that's a private contract. But I love that it's been circulated. I hope that one day he corroborates it. I hope one day he bottles it up and teaches other players to know their value and understand the value of their name, image, and likeness, and understand how to negotiate specific terms because of your worth. But in this episode of Wake Up, say what you want about Shador. Say what you want to say about Coach Prime. Do what you will. But if indeed a prime equity clause, a unique clause that would have been negotiated into his contract, if that exists, I want to hear more about that. I don't want to see the kid from Texas with 26 pounds.
You're not going to hear about that. I don't want to hear about that. You're going to hear about the guy from Cincinnati that doesn't want to sign his contract because of his behavior clause. That's what you're going to hear about. They're not going to give you a chance for you to look and say, look at how this dude got drafted in the 5th round and made all that money back by himself. Why did I tell you that?
No.
What good is that going to do to bring down the morale of the folks? I got to tell you how terrible it was and how his behavior cost him money, not how his ingenuity made him catch all of it back up. Now, argument would be if he was a first round or second rounder, he still would have got that money. But at the end of the day, he's all right. Nobody wants to hear that.
Nobody wants to hear that. I'll go home with this. It'll lead us to the Ball Hawk Spotlight. But the reason that we made this entitled this show Wake Up is I had an incident yesterday. I talked to you about my disappointment in the environment where I had my son playing youth football, the youngest one. And I joined the situation, and my disappointment was things like, hey, the messaging that, hey, just to see the way the practices were conducted and the lax handling of things like discipline and organization and, no meetings where, for me, youth sports should only be used to prepare you for high school sports. Because you understand that you got to go through high school in a successful way to get to the sports beyond high school, college. And if you're one of the very few, less than 1% that get beyond college to play some form of professional sport, especially if it's on this continent, right? That's how I see youth sports. How do you prepare your young, in my case, young man or your young athlete to navigate the space that your son and your daughter are in right now, right? They successfully navigated the high school space to get to the college space that they are currently successfully navigating. But for a coach to lead with something like, hey, man, this team is going to be great, man. We're going to win a championship. We're going to win a natty. Having won a natty, your son, in football and basketball, because this show is called Wake Up, please allow the alarm clock to be set off now that your son is he's got one more year eligibility after this, or this is the last one?
Yes, this year and next year.
Next year. So with 2 years left of eligibility, with a college degree from a school like Northwestern, with perspective on this, and your daughter now in her freshman year getting good minutes playing volleyball at HBCU, a reputable institution, and on her path towards that same success in getting a college degree, can you please give me and put the value on it of how valuable Things like, coach tell me, they're going to win a national championship. My son plays receiver. We're going to throw him the ball every doggone down. Or you see all of the doggone reels that are being circulated by parents. Or you look at the Athlete of the Year competition that was generated by Russell Wilson. Genius. All of these parents taking the opportunity to tell you how great their kids are in youth sports. Please tell me the value that has played on your journey for your kids.
I'll say this. I don't want to be that guy. I've got one son, one daughter. My son came in. I had a lot of different opinions that I changed by the time my daughter kind of came up, and just you have to live life to learn. I mean, I can tell you as much as I want to tell you, but you got to try it for yourself. Have fun. If you can afford the money and it's not killing you, have fun with your children with these youth sports. Do the travel, get the bonding, make the memories, and do all these different things there. But when I tell you it doesn't matter, I couldn't say it loud enough. There's a player right now that went to my son's high school that plays for the Minnesota Vikings. He didn't play football until junior year in high school. He was a basketball player, didn't like the basketball coach. He was a real muscular basketball player. And now he's a linebacker for whatever. Nobody's going to say, well, what'd you do in 8th grade? You win a national championship. Now, I don't want to poo-poo that because it was important to us, and I liked it. We had a good time. The team that we joined and won a national championship in 7th grade, my son had a lot of friends on there, and I wanted to be part of that memory for him. Right. But I knew at the time that doesn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything in high school. It didn't mean anything in college. No one ever asked about it again. He's got a ring in his room that he would misplace if we didn't keep it in good shape. He doesn't really care. So when people start dangling carrots in front of your face, if it's important to you from a recreational standpoint, you don't have money issues or time constraint issues, it's not going to hurt your family, by all means do it. But if you think that means something, it does not. Now, do I think that there's 10 or 15% of some of my son's success came from the big pressure moments he had in basketball AAU and big pressure moments he had to make big catches when he was in 8th grade? Foundationally, I'm sure there's some impact to that. Is it worth the thousands of dollars and the hundreds of hours that we spent to get him those things? Could he have not done that anyway? I don't know, because I know a lot of people who didn't do it. I mean, only one team wins a national championship every year, and there's hundreds of kids that come out and play. So my point is, when you're with these youth programs and they're dangling things like that are not important to you, that are not important to his or her general well-being, unless that comes with, if you're in volleyball and they want to put you on the number one team, and that there's a lot of training that's going to come with that, a lot of exposure, a lot of, whatever, by all means, that makes sense. But for most part, men's sports, we do a horrible job with our youth of training them. It's all about collecting talent and just trying to see if we can out-talent you for the most part. Again, female sports, I think, is a little bit different. I think there's a lot more when you're on the more elite teams, you get a lot better training, a lot better practice experience than you do on the lower level teams. I know that from experience. I just say tread lightly, but you have to learn it for yourself. You have to have a kid that's been through it. That kid has to grow up and you have to look back. Nothing that I say right now is going to impact you, but you're going to giggle later at yourself. When you go to a youth football game right now, when Thatcher is a junior in high school, and you go to your friend's youth football game, the little brother of somebody who's on Thatcher's team, and you watch it, you're going to be embarrassed in yourself. You ain't going to say nothing. You're going to be like, oh, my God, I was him. God, I was him. Well, there's no way around it.
You're being nice. You're being nice, and today I don't feel like being nice. So okay. This episode's called Wake Up. And I am fortunate enough to have already seen my own biological son and Deuce go, and now he's in high school. But also the extension of that on that team, out of 31 kids on that roster last year, 23 of them have been placed in some of the best schools in New Jersey. And I'm looking at it both from the process of getting the kids to the high school, negotiating the terms of tuition, then seeing whether or not they're prepared once they get there to be on varsity right away or contribute on JV and freshman. And I'm actually just saying, wake up. Because in none of those instances, my own son and an extension to 22 other kids, does the national championship that we had 2 years ago, does the national exposure that we had a few months ago, none of it matters. And so for this particular environment, I had been there trying to be a coach and just frustrated because of lack of preparedness. The only thing that matters is you understand how to be prepared, how to be disciplined, how to be organized. The only thing that matters is when you get to a high school, you understand that your body language matters. You understand that this is a conduit to hopefully one day taking full advantage of what is now a huge business because of name, image, and likeness, because of the house settlement. It's time to start training young people early to deal with the analogy I did before, the investment banker teaching their kid at 7 years old about global economics. It's time to start teaching your kids about what this pathway towards success looks like. And so yesterday, I blew up. You could sense it was coming. I talked to you, my frustration. I blew up, and we had 4 plays on air. 3 of them were bad plays. 2 penalties, 1 mental lapse, 4 plays on air. And it was the first time we're off the field, we're calling plays. I'm like, and to be fair, I just yelled out like, this is like, and the last play was a penalty on my own son. He's a receiver. He essentially lined up on the ball. So there's 2 people on the ball. It's on air. He makes a great catch, but then the coach yells, well, it doesn't count. And they're yelling at the kid, happens to be Thatcher. And I just went off. Simple-minded people think I went off because, they were yelling at Thatcher. Now, mind you, I just yelled at Thatcher to play before. If you've ever been around me and seen me coach my kids, I'm tougher on my kids than anybody. I like when coaches, especially the ones that understand preparedness, discipline, organization, I like when they yell at my kids because it sounds different coming from someone else than me. What I don't like is bunglehead adults who don't understand what this game is really about and are there to wear a title as head coach, are there to schmooze and live vicariously through the kids who are taking everything from the game and not giving to these young people. Now, you are giving your time, so God bless you. The fact that you're sacrificing and volunteering is salute worthy. But for my son, because I look at this just like the investment banker, I want my son to understand how to navigate this and have a successful path. The football aspect of it, the X's and O's, the wins and losses don't matter to me. And when these coaches are firing back, we are prepared enough to beat the team today. Like, that's not the level of standard that I want for my child. I don't give a damn about beating the team. I don't give a damn about your national championship. I give a damn about you understanding the purity of this game and how it prepares kids for life. The reason that you and I are successful in life is because we had coaches that taught us that the fundamentals of doing anything is buying into a team concept, being prepared at all times, making sure that you understand how to be organized, making sure you understand work ethic. And so it is now translated to you as a father, and God bless you to have done it not once but twice and having your kids in successful positions. It's translated to you as a professional, as a husband, as a member of community. Football is just a conduit to build successful adults in our community. And if any coach doesn't see it that way in the youth sports, I say wake up. Get your ass away from kids. Luckily, I have the wherewithal to take my son. I'll just train him because he plays the same position, or I'll find another team. But I'm not going to allow my son to run, unfortunately, to be susceptible to somebody that's running this thing like it's a video game and all they care about is wins and losses. That's why I say wake up. I challenge all parents to wake up. If you're around someone that's not adding real value to your child, get away from them. They're dangerous. If you're around someone, one of the coaches afterwards tries to walk up to me, he's like, he's trying to break it up, and he's, the dispute. Because I said what I said, and the dude walked up on me. Lord, thank you that I'm an elected official. I'm licensed in 2 states. Because as you know,
Holy Ghost.
I got a Yale MBA. You know me very well. The old me, 20.
You were loose at the shoulders. Yeah,
I would have not let somebody walk up to my space. But I laughed it off and we moved on. But the other coach is trying to tell me, oh, we are prepared. We're prepared enough to beat the team tomorrow. Huh? What standards are we setting? You don't get to have access to my child if that's the standard that you have. And then in the middle of it, he's like, but you're not on my level. I was like, what does that mean? What exactly does that mean? On your level how? Football? And I think because at one point he was All-American. He went to Rutgers. And I'm like, bro, you went to Rutgers. I think he got a cup of tea in the NFL. I don't think he ever made it. Maybe he did make a team, but I was in that space too, so I was really confused. What exactly do you mean not on your level? You went to Rutgers. No disrespect, but all disrespect. Rutgers could not call me in high school. Rutgers could not really call you and get entertained in high school. So not that, and after I said my piece, bro, you went to Rutgers. What are you talking about? And he's like, man, we got up to number 13 in the country that year. Exactly. Like, if that is something that you still talk about, that says that level-wise, you weren't on our level. But more importantly, like, what does that have to do with these kids? If you got a coach that leads with how he used to play as the reason why you should let him coach your kids, move on.
Yeah. Move
on. And then he was like, you asked me something about numbers. Do you know what I do for a living? I'm like, man, do you know what I do for a living? I'm in insurance. Cool. I do securities litigation, my brother. And again, Yale MBA. I know some about numbers, but what does that have to do with these kids? And I say, wake up. If the only thing that you are getting from a youth sports situation, whether it be football, basketball, anything and everything in between, is the wins and the losses, the trophies and the rings, and the highlights that you post with no connection to seeing this conglomerate business that is allowing some kid to buy 26 pounds of Cuban link, another kid to get Ben & Jerry's franchises, another kid to take in and adopt his family after his mom died. If you
and thank you very much. That's a Michigan State receiver. Hopefully we can try to post this article.
But if you aren't connected to that, if the adult that's responsible for your kid has no connection to that and no commitment to getting them there, move on. Wake up and move on. And I stayed there. You saw my frustration when I talked to you on the phone on the way to pride. I stayed there because of loyalty to the organization. It's where I've been coaching. I like the men there. But if the powers, the higher powers, aren't going to have that same commitment to preparing kids, and they're going to allow someone that wears a title coach to treat it just like it's all about the wins and losses, then the hell with the loyalty. Be most loyal to your own child. Wake up, do what's right, and just like that investment banker, teach your child the fundamentals of the economics of this and how to navigate it so that you will be wildly successful. And that doesn't mean you become an All-American. It means you go get yourself an education. It means you meet a lot of people in this world that can be contacts for you. It means that your reputation is such that you can do just about anything because they talk about you in positive ways when you're not in the room. It means that you understand the connection to the education, to the opportunities is going to lead you to a whole new world that can change your life and change the generational wealth that you provide for your family. If someone is not doing that, wake up and move on. I'm talking to myself because I had to make the decision yesterday. Some sacrifices ain't made worth making. I love all the kids, and I ain't quit nothing. I didn't let my son walk on the field. I said, you stay here, just come off to the sideline. And we decided after practice that this was not the right environment. But wake up, parents. Because I'm a coach, I see these foaches. That's a term coined by my dog, Kareem. Foaches. Fake-ass coaches ruining kids because they're living vicariously through the kid. What position they played and their success as back in 1990, whatever, doesn't matter for your child. And if the adult who wears the title coach doesn't have your child, the best interest of your child and that future, linking them to this opportunity, the vast number of opportunities that you can get out of sport, wake up and move on.
So I'm going to kind of fix what I said and kind of add to it and some context to it. So if somebody's coming to you and say, hey, look, I want to win a national championship, do whatever. And if you think that's what you really want, your kid just to have a good youth experience, and say, again, God bless you and your family, go do what you got to go do.
Fair.
If your goals for your child.
Some people don't even think their kid's going to play high school. So that's fair.
Yeah. Some people just want to go have fun, man. They don't value sports like that. They do whatever, and that's fine. Most people don't go to college and play sports, right? A lot want to, most don't. A lot of people, I've watched a lot of girls that play with my daughter that I thought had college level ability, but their academics were better than their athletics, and they didn't want to go to the schools that their athletics could get them into. They want to go to their academic schools. God bless you and your family. I think that's fantastic. But I would rather hear, like you said earlier, about the people that you place. There's a school called Bolingbrook High School and a coach named John Ivelo. And I mention him because he gets a lot of heat from people because they don't win a lot of state championships. There's not a school in Illinois that puts more D1 athletes, besides East St. Louis, that puts more D1 athletes into Power 5 football programs than him. But this man loses early in the playoffs every year, and they ran him out of town. And I said, I would have a statue here, and he can coach until he dies, because he's in the of this area. He's in the most largest African American community out. It's the place that you're going to hear about people doing dumb stuff and losing to, I hate to say the streets because it's still the suburbs, but making mistakes. And this dude puts kids through, name the school, Northwestern, Ohio State, Florida, Michigan, left and right. This guy is putting guys into school. And then they lose playoff games, and everyone's so mad about it. If I was a principal, I'd be like, if somebody walks in this room and talks about your playoff record, I would slam the door on him and have security take him off campus. Because I would say, look at his resume of young men that he's created, does whatever. That's what I want to hear. So when you go to youth programs, the guys, we win championships, we got the uniforms, we do all this stuff. Like you said, how many of your kids start varsity as a freshman? If you're not talking about that, talk to me. But it depends what you want. But I had to take a step back. It depends what you want. I knew what we wanted. We know what we wanted. We know where we wanted to end up. And we were in a program that you had both. You could win a national championship, and you ended up doing that. Now, I helped coach the man to do it, but at the same time, we had a lot of people doing it. So,
because we got an example from a good coach. While Coach Holtz and I had our little run-in during the Trump re-election thing, I will always, to the end of my life, be thankful that I had what I called a white stepfather, in the sense that man was a fatherly figure in my life. And I got to see what coaching was really about. I got to see a commitment, right? The whole love, commitment, trust. I use that with our kids now. And so I got to see it up close and personal, knowing everybody in my family, all of those things. But I say this, man, because I went off on a tangent, and I don't apologize for it. But I pray for families to get this message and wake up, because truth be told, when I looked at all those Miami players and Notre Dame players, and looked at all of the people that got taken advantage of, the money was there back then. We just didn't get any of it. I don't want this generation of players to be taken advantage of too, because there is an amazing amount of opportunity. And the sport is just a conduit, an excuse to teach you how to be a better citizen,
Absolutely.
businessman, husband, community leader, whatever you decide to do. And so I leave it there, and Thatcher will be fine. We'll figure it out, right? He's in a good situation either way. But on the way home, I told him, I was like, man, it is what it is, man. You never compromise your standard. Once you do, you're a part of the problem. And with that, on this Wake Up episode of the Ball Hawk Spot Sports Talk,
you just said it. You just slipped.
You want to do a spotlight? Go ahead. What's your Ball Hawk spotlight?
I got a spotlight because I got to hear what you think about this Kawhi NIL deal that he has on the side. I mean, Kawhi Leonard was the original NIL deal. If you think
got to
about
add, allegedly, there was for those who've been under a rock, is allegedly Steve Ballmer, the Clippers owner, created sort of a company that does interesting deals. It's called a no-show job for, was it 28 million? 20 something? It was like a lot of
28 million, but it was over 4 years. They sensationalized everything.
Yeah.
7 million a year.
7 million a year, and normally that comes with a stipulation that you got to market, be a marketing partner and help brand the company. They're calling it a no-show job because they got a grand total of 0 posts from Kawhi Leonard, who's not a big social media person anyway. But you would think that you're going to pay somebody $7 million a year for 4 years, you're getting something from it.
NIL, baby.
I mean, it's now come out that other owners did the same thing. I think Kawhi and his business manager, who happens to be Uncle Dennis that lives locally, I think that they just were the first to the party. And we'll see how this plays out. The NBA does have an issue, though, because that's a way for an owner to skirt the salary cap rules. But it's not Kawhi's problem to police how he's paid. So we'll see how it plays out.
I love
kind of wink for me.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. My $7
You
bill. It's
expect
just, the
me to be
rest
a
of
little
it's just
more.
$7 bill for him.
You
It's
you
an extra
expect me to be a little more honorable with my response?
listen.
My ball hog spotlight moment is Fran Brown from Syracuse after only beating Connecticut by a touchdown. He made them do gassers on the field, and it looked like 100% of those guys were out there doing gassers.
I love it.
There's two things to that. While I appreciate the coach saying to the fans, "We owed you more than that, and we're gonna give you this."
What disrespect?
What does Connecticut think? Like, I mean, how bad do you?
Man, you might just go run with him, UConn. That's how they feel about you.
Hey, like my man told me, you're not on my level. Syracuse basically like, you're not on my level. You shouldn't have been just a 7-point loss to us. But this has been a great show, man. Wake up. We are back. August is done. We are in September. The fall is here. Fall football, a.k.a. the NFL, starts today on Sundays. Like we ask you every week, humbly, please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone that you know, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. We got together today and did that. And we love to argue. Oops, we mean debate. And we encourage you guys to come back next week. We'll let you know what day it is when we decide what day it is. We got autonomy.
You know what we know.
Independence. Any last words before we get out of here? Big Flow Show.
Nah, big day, man. Big Sunday. We're excited to watch these games. Go see my Bears tomorrow. They're mine until they lose, but they're my Bears against JJ McCarthy, one of my previous guests on the show, local hero. Watch him play that game tomorrow. I'm praying for good weather, man. It's winter in Chicago already.
That's what's up.
So
yeah, that's why they call it the Windy City. I need you to pray for my man Thatch too, man. I gotta figure out what Thatch gonna be, bro. But all good things.
That's gonna be okay. That's what he's gonna be.
He's gonna be okay. And with that, with no further ado, please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. This is the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. A few businessmen get together and discuss sports in an entertaining fashion. We do it one way and one way only: rough, rugged, and raw. The Big Flow Show is in the building. I'm your boy, B Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, a.k.a. Mr. Accessible Version, a.k.a. Breezy, a.k.a. Councilman Brown, a.k.a. Coach Bobby, a.k.a. not on somebody's level. And with that, we is out. Peace.